The views and opinions of this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading. Well, Wednesday's trade action, we found a little bit of a bounce, some support in wheat and in corn, not so much in that soy complex, while we saw a down day across the livestock complex and some pressure in the outside markets as well. I know we had a fair amount of jobs data out, GDP, etc. Plenty for us to take a look at here as we close out the month of April. Joining us for a conversation, Chip Nellinger, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing in Morton, Illinois. Chip, it's great to have you with us here on Market Talk, and hope all is well. Kind of a stabilization day, as I mentioned, in the grains. Well, you mentioned that to me before we went on the air. I mean, talk about finding a little bit of positivity in that quarter wheat market Wednesday.
Yeah, finally we saw some stability there. The beans are kind of lacking that. I think a couple things happened here. Number one, we still have really good demand underlying this corn market. So, we sold some corn to unknown this morning. That was good news. The weekly ethanol grind continues to really crank at well above a year ago pace. And so I think underlying all this has been the fact that we still have really good demand, and we will continue to see that for several more months in the corn market. I think the case of wheat stabilizing, we really stretched this thing to the downside. We pushed into new contract lows, got a lot of this recent rain across Kansas and Oklahoma digested in the market. And now there's a little bit of optimism about a potential trade agreement with India, and we've been looking for that for several years. That could mean, it may not be immediate, but if that thing does get finalized, it could mean maybe some better export business of U.S. wheat into India. And I think that was, at least for the time being, enough to stabilize the wheat market today.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see if India comes first. There's been rumors of Japan as well. There really hasn't been a lot of movement on the China issue, and I know that's had some influence here as China continues to talk tough on trade. Plus, thinking about the soy complex, Chip, we still haven't seen the EPA make any movements on RVOs and more. So, I mean, I think there's a number of factors maybe this week as we finish the month that are weighing in on that soy complex in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I think you hit on a couple things there. Number one, it is the end of the month, right? And I think you saw in everything, corn, beans, and wheat, and soy oil had been on a recent tear higher. A lot of liquidation into the end of the month here. But I think to your point about the trade agreements, sometimes it just seems like it'd almost be better if people in Washington said nothing rather than saying something, right? Because all it leads to is disappointment, right? For 2 weeks now, we've been hearing, we've got an EPA announcement coming out on renewable fuels. Well, we don't see it. And it's back and forth. We're talking to China. We're having great talks. China says, no, we're not talking. Who knows what's happening as far as those talks go? And it just leads to disappointment on the markets, in the market's expectations. So I think that is something that at the end of the month, coinciding with that liquidation, was enough to cause some disappointment and some selling here on, the last couple of days of the month.
Something that I wonder here, planting progress, things like that, weather, we hear about all these other external factors, but we got to remember, Chip, that weather is definitely at play here in these grain markets right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that's a bit of a headwind too. Our planting progress on Monday showed that we're still well ahead of pace. A lot of activity happening here, since Monday. Little bit of rain moving in areas. I know here locally in central Illinois, we're getting a little bit of rain, but the last 3 or 4 days, we've had chances and we've missed those, and there's been a tremendous amount of planting activity. So we continue to advance that pace. It's really hard to talk up planting delays as powered up as U.S. farmers are now, right? I mean, high-speed planters covering a lot of ground in a short amount of time. And so that is something that I think was also a little bit of a headwind on top of the trade news or lack of trade news, on top of the end of the month. This weather in the immediate term has been a little bit bearish. Still going to be those questions longer term. We haven't fixed the drought map. The Western Corn Belt is going to be the bullseye all summer long. But in the very short run here, I think the planting progress and the speed that we can plant this thing is a definite headwind in the short run.
I do want to get into some risk management thoughts with you here in a second, but I want to rope in, at the end of the month, we always get all these lovely reports. We had the PCE inflation data out at midday Wednesday. We had the GDP data out Wednesday morning. You throw in jobs numbers and more. And, looking at all that data, it seems like it maybe push the stock market, the outside markets a bit lower on the day Wednesday? I mean, did you take away anything from all of that economic data that we saw to round out the month?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, some mixed bags there. At the end of the day, it's still going to come down to interest rates and what the Federal Reserve does, right? I mean, you did see a lot of volatility today in the stock market. Had some pretty steep losses earlier. We pared those back a little bit here, so you continue to see a lot of churning in the stock market. The old saying, sell in May and go away. We're about to turn the calendar. We've had a nice correction up. You have to wonder if we don't have some more selling ahead of us in the stock market. Again, if we get some announcements on some trade deals, I think that go a long way at stabilizing these outside markets. The dollar has been on a big move lower. But again, that's going to be related to trade and interest rate expectations going forward. And quite honestly, the Federal Reserve is on pause right now, wondering. I think on the one hand, the narrative that the tariffs are going to be inflationary, but yet so far there hasn't been a big sign of that. And to be fair, there's probably not enough time to have the tariffs flow through the entire economic system yet. So it's just a tremendous amount of uncertainty there, not only on our financial markets, but in our grain and livestock markets. It's causing a tremendous amount of volatility and uncertainty. No market likes uncertainty, and so it leads to people pulling their horns back, not participating enough, not trading in the volumes that they normally would until we get some better clarity, hopefully in the future.
Well, I think some of that outside market action is still playing a role in the livestock sector. Let's talk cattle. Down day Wednesday, we finally ended our streak of higher days in futures. I just, we're getting to such lofty levels here, Chip. It just felt like maybe a end of the month type of consolidation correction type of day. I mean, what are your thoughts in the cattle?
Yeah, I think maybe at the end of the day, that's all it was. It wasn't very aggressive selling. I mean, we did close lower on the day, but it wasn't like it was, $5 lower in fats and feeders. Seemed like it was very controlled, quiet type volume. And to me, it's probably just end of the month stuff. No market can go up forever. The shorter term traders are going to take some profits on their longs at some point in time. People that are waiting to buy a break are going to jump in. So you need that back and forth trade in a healthy market. The cash market, until the cash market breaks, we're not going very far to the downside. The old saying, nobody rings a bell and warns everybody at the top is still valid. But, right now it doesn't look like, we've seen a top yet.
Chip, final couple minutes here. Love some just risk management thoughts from you, things you'd reiterate to folks. Of course, we remember that risk of trading futures and options can be substantial, but as farmers are busy with planting or they're busy out in the yard, working with cattle out in the pasture or the feedlot or whatever the case is. I mean, as you look across this whole sector moving into the month of May, what's a couple of the key things you want folks to remember from just a general risk management standpoint right now?
Yeah, I think from the cattle side, sitting here at all-time highs, it's easy to be friendly and bullish. But I would say don't fall asleep on your risk management. Stay hedged. Puts, LRP, something to protect the downside, because when the top does come, the funds that have massive longs, they're going to get out. We're not going to have a chance. We like to think, oh, I'll wait for some confirmation of a top and then I can do some risk management. It doesn't work that way in this type of a cattle market that we're in. So stay diligent there. On the grain side, I would say, at least from a corn and bean perspective, and probably wheat too, be patient. These levels in corn, especially now that we've, back down near support levels on the new crop December, probably a good spot to maybe consider some out of the money calls on some previous sales made from higher levels. Don't get too carried away yet. We've got the entire growing season ahead of us. We're likely to have some volatility and some chances through that. And also remember, don't forget about your crop insurance. That's our ultimate backstop and allows us to maybe not get as emotional on these sell-offs that we've had. Just keep in mind what your revenue floor is, and that's a good place to know where your foundation is and where the worst case scenario is from a marketing standpoint.
Chip, awesome thoughts and really appreciate the time. Folks want to reach out to you there for a conversation at Blue Reef Agri-Marketing. What's the best way?
Yeah, best way is just call our office. Our main office is in Morton. We've got 4 other offices throughout the Plains and Corn Belt. Our main office number is 309-550-7213. Love to chat with you. If you're sitting in a tractor planting, wondering what comes next and what you should do, just open book here. Just give us a buzz. Love to chat with you.
Chip Nellier, Blue Reef Agri-Marketing. Good to talk with you. Thanks for joining us on Market Talk, and we'll look forward to having you back on the show again real soon. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Make sure to subscribe to the Market Talk YouTube channel. You can watch our latest interviews with top market analysts in the country, find bonus content, and much more. It's easy. Just go to youtube.com/@MarketTalkAg and hit the subscribe button. Or you can search for Market Talk Ag on YouTube.